For a while now, the way I've personally been engaging with YouTube has shifted. I've been on YouTube as a creator for over 10 years now, and for the longest time, YouTube was my main platform of inspiration. I followed a lot of different creators. I had a lot of loyalty to those creators, not just because of having like a weird parasocial relationship, but because these were people that I'd been following for a while, whose opinions I trusted. I heavily relied on my subscription feed, barely looked anywhere else outside of that, and I had just very quickly back in like 2014 to 2015 cultivated a lot of people in the specifically booktube space that I trusted, whose videos I enjoyed, whose videos I always went back to. I experienced a little bit of burnout with YouTube as a creator in like 2023-ish, and from there my YouTube watching and engaging with fell off a lot. I started relying a little bit more heavily on short form video and TikTok and things like that. A little bit as a creator, but mostly just as a viewer. And I got sucked into the TikTokification of basically everything and the way that that platform molded how a lot of people were using social media and engaging with it and all of that. Fast forward to now where I've deleted TikTok, Threads, and X, with those like short form written things that are Twitter-esque being something that I very quickly realized and have known for a while were just not good for my mental health, weren't giving me the things that I even wanted out of social media, and were more anxiety producing, even just as someone who was passively scrolling it, than anything that I really wanted to engage with as a creator or otherwise. And I've specifically been turning away from short form content and re-engaging with YouTube. But I've noticed since kind of taking a little bit of a break, I was never completely gone, but taking a bit of a break from watching as much, that the way that I, and it seems like a lot of other people, have been engaging with YouTube and YouTube creators has shifted. Now, this is my personal experience and the experience of the community that I have been the biggest part of, which has been the book community on YouTube. So some of these things I'm saying might not apply to every single niche community, but I've noticed a shift in how people are engaging with this particular niche community. And if you are part of other niche communities on YouTube, I would love to hear if you see similar things in your experience, or if those communities have largely stayed the same and how people are interacting with them. So these days, I rarely check my subscription feed, which is not how I ever engaged with YouTube in the past. I still do subscribe to people, but for the most part, I'm checking my homepage and recommended page, which is a bit odd because I don't think the YouTube recommendations page is that good. It tends to feed you a lot of the same things you've already seen, or things that you've passed and haven't watched, and just like the hopes that one time you'll click it, and sometimes I do. Sometimes it gets me. The reasons that I don't check my subscription feed as much as I used to are tenfold. One major one that I've lamented for years on various different platforms is that the core community of who I followed on BookTube at the beginning are mostly gone. The creators, there's a few that are still left over, but the creators especially that I really enjoyed and whose videos I would watch a lot of, they're gone. They haven't made content in years. They've fallen off of the YouTube platform. So I am just less invested, and it's harder to find new creators. There was just something about the time that I got into it and everyone who was joining at the same time that it was like easier to find each other. The YouTube landscape of like talking to each other and tags and video responses in the early 2010s, early to mid, was just easier, I think, for connecting. And I've tried to find other ways to find new creators who are talking about similar books or the things that, you know, I'm missing from those creators that left. And in the years that have followed a lot of those people falling off, I have never been able to kind of like replicate finding those people. So because of that, I don't have a lot of like creator loyalty, but I don't really call it, again, loyalty doesn't feel right, but you know, I'm not following creators for their channels as heavily in the booktube realm. I will get to some of the creators that I do check up on more religiously because that's part of my thesis of this video. This isn't to say that I don't watch videos on more niche channels, but they actually aren't usually book space channels. They're not booktube channels. If I get into a certain hobby, I will find certain reliable creators on that hobby. If that hobby sticks, I will maybe eventually follow them. But for example, I've been building my own like fish tank. I recently got a fish, whatever. It's been a couple months process. I don't want to engage with fish content enough to follow those creators, but I recognize some of their names when I'm looking for information that I need when I'm using the YouTube search function to find something. And that's how I've been more engaging with YouTube. So I'm no longer feeling as enmeshed in a niche community like books in the same way that I was before. I will say I have observed within the bookish space that it's a little bit harder now to do the niche thing because the book niche seems less popular on YouTube overall. I know that on TikTok, book talk is still like a very big thing, but the YouTube to TikTok transfer is just like not the same. And so the classic booktube space that we had in like all of the 2010s isn't the same anymore. A lot of big booktube creators these days are actually people that started as lifestyle channels and then converted their content to booktube content, book-related content, and therefore drastically changed the like expectations of the space. So it's feeling like, from someone observing this and being a part of it in the creator space, that like something like a classic booktube and something very niche like that, it's kind of hard for creators to be able to flow with the expectations of the space, because for a long time, there was a certain set of expectations for the videos you would see on a booktube channel. It's reviews, it's probably tags, it is wrap-ups, it is TBRs, it is haul videos. And now, that's still probably your classic bread and butter booktube channel, but those channels are not very popular that are doing those like stock videos. And a lot of it has changed to reading vlogs, reading challenges, which is its own thing because a lot of people who don't do YouTube full time can't just sit here and do a reading challenge of, I read all of the books on Reese Witherspoon's favorite books list and here's what I think of them. Like, that is a very specific type of video for someone who has a lot of time to do that, and not most booktube channels are not making enough money from YouTube to be able to do it full time with like the classic booktube channel, right? So those challenge videos, or like the rise of the video essay on YouTube in general, that is also filtered into booktube. If you were making those like classic booktube videos, changing your format to a challenge video or a video essay, especially if you don't enjoy making those types of videos, is going to make it so that, okay, well, I'm no longer fit in the niche of booktube, and I don't really want to make those videos, and what do I do? That is my experience as someone who makes and did make booktube videos, is I've struggled for years now to be like, okay, I don't really want to make video essays, although my feelings about that are changing, but I don't want to make video essays about books specifically all the time. So that still is true. And I don't want to do these challenge videos because reading a bunch of books in particular that I probably won't like, never something that I want to do. I am not a hate reader. If I read a book hoping I'll like it and end up hating it, that's different. Going into reading a book that I know I'm probably not going to like, I don't ever want to do that. So on the creator side, kind of hard to shift. Also, as a creator, being stuck in a particular niche can get really boring. So I'm someone who, yeah, books are always a fairly big part of the hobby pie for me, but I'm someone that has multiple hobbies and multiple hobbies that shift a lot. Neurodivergent, that happens. And so I have a lot of things that I want to talk about. And the reason I created a booktube channel in the first place is because I wanted to talk to people about my main hobby, which at the time was books. And generally speaking, like I said, books is a major part of it. But over the years, I've been like, man, I really want to talk about other things besides just books. But for the longest time, the recommendation and how like the algorithm worked, and maybe still works, I don't know, is that you niche down to a super niche and your channel's just about that. And if people don't do that, they probably won't do very well, and people won't follow you as easily because you're talking about all these different things that they're probably not interested in. And so you just need to stick to books. And if you want to talk about something else, you create a second channel, which I did for a long time, but then I burned out, and having two channels instead of just one was like not something I wanted to do anymore. And I started getting a life outside of being online, and that fell apart very quickly. But even though people always recommended, oh, have a niche, it also is kind of a precarious place to be, because if someone, or if a population of people, like that niche sort of falls out of favor, or people aren't really as interested as much or whatever, they'll just unfollow you because that's your niche. Like, and if they're not interested in books anymore, they're probably not going to follow you anymore. Same thing is true of other creators that I followed. Like for a while there, I was really into coloring. I still am, but it's just not a main thing where I'm watching content on it. I followed a bunch of coloring creators like last winter, and I've unfollowed all them because I'm like, I don't need to watch these like coloring videos. I'm doing the coloring. I don't want to like immerse myself in it in the way that I did at the time. So if you have a niche channel, it's going to just kind of fall apart when people are less interested in that. You know, it's a little bit more reliant on people's whims, which is, again, fine. I change hobbies all the time. But as a YouTube creator, it can be like, okay, well, now people aren't as into this, and no one wants to talk about this thing that I want to talk about with me, and bummer. And also, maybe you're already bored of it. You're like, I don't even want to talk about this either. I get it. So in looking at, like, why am I not looking at these subscription feeds as much? Like, who are the people that I actually am more interested in their content? I realized that the people people who I have followed for a long time and that I kind of stick with, and maybe I'm not looking at my subscription feed, but if they pop up on my recommendeds, I'm like, oh yeah, like I subscribe to them, but I just wasn't paying attention to when they uploaded a video, but here they are and I want to hear from them. Or I like go to their channels a lot. I do that a lot with creators I really like, where I'll just like go and watch old videos from them that I've seen or haven't seen. And what I noticed is those creators have not necessarily a niche, but they have more of like a webbed matrix of things they talk about. Their niche might be their, like, the way that they do a certain video, their, like, not even their background, but like the cinematography of things. Oh, it's kind of cozy, or oh, they do like a lot of memes in their videos or whatever, but they talk about a wider range of topics. So they're more of a personality, but not a personality video in like the Mr. Beast, like a put on personality, right? It's more just like, their personality is engaging, someone that I would like want to be friends with, not in a super parasocial way, like there's boundaries there, but like it feels more like conversing with friends, and they're talking about some of these like bigger topics, and they have like multiple umbrellas that things go under that create like almost like a web of things that they talk about. So there might be a through line of something like books or literacy or something, or it might be, again, like relationships, community, sustainability, whatever, but they talk about a number of different topics underneath that in a way that is more interesting and engaging to me. Some creators that come to mind for this are Anna Howard and specifically Lena Norms. So Lena Norms is someone who's been on YouTube for a very long time. I've watched her since her early YouTube days, and I watched her initially when she was more of a booktuber. And since then, she has really evolved her content to where she talks about a lot of stuff with, again, a through line of loving books, but not making the traditional booktube video or even the now kind of classic booktube video that's like the challenges or anything like that. She just talks about books that she's interested in and that connect to topics that she's interested in, while also making a bunch of different videos on a number of different topics that she's interested in at the time that kind of just tie back into her personality as a human. She talks about like climate change and sustainability and making your own clothes, but then she will also talk about stuff that's just like classically British because that's where she lives and that's where she's from. And so she talked about the caterpillar cakes that the Brits have. I don't know. She's done a video on that, and all of her videos from like a interest from the community seem to do like fairly well, like no matter what topic she's talking about, because she's interesting and engaging and a very cool person. Anna Howard's similar, kind of has this like, she's just like interested in a bunch of topics, and a lot of stuff is like community and art and writing and things like that. But again, she can talk about a bunch of different things. She's talked about relationships, she's talked about like, creativity, she's talked about community, she's talked about a bunch of different things. And so I find creators like that so much more interesting. And so something in the last couple of weeks, eclipse season, finally clicked in for me that this is sort of the path that I want to be on from a interest standpoint, because for a long time I've been like, okay, I like books, but I don't like the content I was making about them. I don't really want to make anymore, but the new booktube content I don't necessarily want to make anymore. And I have other hobbies I'm interested in that still connect to like literacy and diving into different things you're interested in and that kind of thing. But I still want to talk about books. I don't want to get rid of the booktube of it all, but I want to do a bunch of different things. And finally I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Just do that. The idea of having a web of different topics that have through lines, but something that I'm still like engaged with in that way, it was finally a weight lifted off my shoulders, because I haven't wanted to not engage with YouTube anymore. I like YouTube, I like being here, but at the rate that I was doing it back again, 2010s and early 2020s, and making just like your standard videos, some of them I still really like I love talking about series, I love doing reviews, I love doing wrap-ups, but then trying to be like, okay, do I want to talk about this topic that I've talked about a billion times that people are bringing up again? Are audiobooks really reading, and snobbery around genres and things we've been talking about for a decade? Not really. I've already talked about those, and my opinion on those things hasn't changed. So what now? And what now is circling back to the point of why I ever made a channel in the first place, which is to talk about things that I like with other people, because I don't consider this actually influencing or content creation. I know I've used those words throughout because that is like the colloquialisms for how we talk about YouTube, but I kind of want to get away from that because I've never liked the term influencer, content creator. When those started like dribbling into the like cultural zeitgeist of YouTube and stuff, I was always like, oh God. And then you just kind of have to do it because that's how everyone talks about it. And I'm like, I don't consider myself An influencer, even though I might be technically whatever, everyone's definition is different, but I don't get on here to influence people. I get on here to have a conversation. I don't make content because content is just something to be sort of mindlessly consumed in my definition, right? Like when you hear content, I'm just like, not everything is content. Some things are like art or video or conversation. Like I get on here to have conversations with people. Some might call that content, whatever. I'm not trying to have snobbery about the word. It just doesn't sit right in my spirit anymore. And this is something that, again, my own shifting views on social media and how we engage with things, that's been an ongoing process for myself and for a lot of people. I know a lot of people are getting offline for similar reasons. So thinking about the web of what I'm excited about and what I want to talk about versus how things have been pulled for a long time into talking about things that get a lot of views, which in particular seem to be things that are negative. On BookTube, there's a lot of like hate reading, challenge reading, whatever, which again, some people really enjoy that. That is what excites them. I love that for them. I don't love that, but sitting there and being like, I guess to get engagement, you have to do hate reads. And so I never did them because I was like, I don't want to. That doesn't sound fun for me. Like I said earlier, will I engage with talking about something I didn't like or something I hate? Because I stumbled in hoping I would like it and then I hated it? Sure. Am I gonna read a thing because I know I'm gonna hate it? No, unless someone forces me to for book club. But no, I don't wanna talk about whatever indie author is behaving badly who I never would have heard of unless they behaved badly, and no, I'm not gonna read their shitty book just because they behaved badly when I never would have read it before. Like, those are not the things that I wanted to do. So the way that the BookTube landscape looks these days does not appeal to me. And so I'm letting go of some of the bonds of that. My goal is to come on here and have conversations with people. If someone happens to be influenced by a conversation, because people are influenced by conversations in their day-to-day, whatever, but I'm not coming on here to be an influencer. I'm not coming on here to make content. Again, content bubble, I get it. I get what it means, okay? But like, I'm coming on here to have conversations. I'm not coming on here simply to create a product to be consumed, because consumerism is the Sisyphean burden. I hate it. I want to make discussions that are engaged with. And that's what I'm going to do. So this isn't to say that, hey, if you follow me for BookTube content, the BookTube content's going away. No, it's not. I'm talking about books still. But the way in which I'll talk about books will probably differ, and there will be other stuff mixed into it. And I hope those of you that like that will stick around. And if you're like, no, I only want a certain formula of BookTube videos, that's fine. You can find that somewhere else. That's totally chill, man. If you like little ramblings like this and you want to see little ramblings like this more often, I have been discussing this a lot on the Bibliothecary. That is my newsletter-like platform where I talk about a bunch of different things like these different interests, more in depth, things like digital gardening, personal curriculums, all of that. Also witchcraft. I make written posts about, I sometimes make like podcasty things about. So that is linked down below if you want to check it out. And if you just want to support what I'm doing here, toss a coin to your local YouTube video creator, discussion haver, ponderer of things. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. As I mentioned, if you're a part of other niche communities outside of BookTube, what has been your experience with how those communities like are formed and fall apart and reform and all of that? I would love to talk to you and discuss with you in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.